What Insomniac Games delivered in 2018 with the release of Marvel's Spider-Man was a truly standout gaming experience while staying faithful to the comic book source material. Still, the addition of a few unique story beats made the adventure feel unique, yet familiar. Now, the team has delivered Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales as a PlayStation 5 launch title, and what we get is a few reused elements that make up a much more refined experience.
To the main floor!
You all need to get out of here! The reactor's not safe!
Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales puts players in control of a new Spider-Man, Miles Morales, as Peter Parker is basically training him in the ways of the spider. The two work together to take out bad guys, but Miles attempts to handle things like Peter would, which causes him to make mistakes. As Peter leaves for a vacation, Miles is left with protecting the city and finds himself wrapped up in a massive power struggle between a few different entities. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales' campaign is much shorter than Marvel Spider-Man, but this only forces the developers to focus on story beats without the added fluff. It's great to be a part of Miles' journey as he comes into his own. A few different external sources test the new web-slinger's morality as he must make some difficult choices. This is something that Peter has had to deal with before, but seeing Miles tackle it on his own separates the two more dramatically. Miles appears to have some special powers that he discovers over time, such as invisibility and a new shockwave attack. These play into his skills and combos as they are needed to take down certain foes. These moves are unlocked throughout the campaign and allowed me to take on missions differently than I would as Peter. The stealth mechanics are emphasized, but don't expect enemy AI to be too concerned with their colleagues hanging from the ceiling. While Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales shows us a different type of Spider-Man, a lot of this game is strikingly similar to Marvel's Spider-Man, from the city landscape to some of the side missions. Returning fans will find many resemblances between the two titles. Sure, it's snowy now, but as I was playing, I felt like my overall experience was closer to an expansion than a true sequel. However, the second you get into combat, you'll see how Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales sets itself apart. The battle system is just way too good. Combos are expertly paced, giving the players time to decide how they wish to tackle a situation. Dodging is responsive as you can dodge out of a combo, and tying in special abilities to any attack feels seamless. Somehow, Insomniac Games has found a way to create a comfortable action-based battle system that uses almost every button on the controller. You feel your fingers flow across the buttons as Spider-Man responds to your every action. What's more fascinating is when you realize that you aren't mashing buttons, instead you're making strategic choices of how to chain together attacks. It's just as beautiful to watch as it is to play. Miles has a new app that allows him to take on additional side missions, with some having their own storyline. It gives you something to do between campaign missions that isn't entirely in your face or demanding. In fact, all the optional collectibles can be paced while progressing through the main campaign. Simply going from one place to another will lead you to a time capsule, special training missions, or optional fights. Each event is rewarded with experience, tokens, and materials that can be used to upgrade your gear. This is another relatively hands-off system that completes itself naturally for the most part throughout the game. Upgrades include passive abilities, shorter cooldowns for skills, and improved combat techniques. For the most part, it's all relatively straightforward, but Miles' unique abilities to add a new layer of complexity to his skills set him apart when compared to Peter. Attacking and dodging fill up his special gauge, which allows him to use electrifying venom attacks or heal. This brings strategy into the mix when deciding whether to heal or venom punch a group of enemies. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales gives us more maneuverability than ever before. You feel the action and speed in the DualSense controller as you make your way across the city. Sure, you'll have been to these locations before, but seeing the world through the eyes of Miles puts a spin on the entire experience. I also must say that fast travel is no longer a tedious choice, as loading screens don't break up the traveling from one side of the city to another. I'm not usually one to use the fast travel system, if only because there are times where I feel I can get there quicker without it, but now it's a no-brainer. Building up to Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales' climax offers some great moments of superhero storytelling. However, the adventure lacks significant boss encounters. Most of the enemies you encounter are just generic grunts, and the times that you do encounter someone who isn't the main antagonist, you'll be hard-pressed to remember them a minute after the fight. It might have been tough to incorporate some of the more prominent Spider-Man villains into the story, but I think there were some moments when they are needed to sell the universe. Roxxon Energy Corporation is a perfect villain for longtime fans, but it's a tough sell for those who aren't wholly invested into the franchise's lore.
I promise to do everything in my power to protect this city.
I promise.
That's it.
Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales expands this series with the addition of a new protagonist. There are some excellent moments of storytelling here as we watch Miles become adjusted to the superhero lifestyle, which is something that we've seen Peter Parker go through plenty of times before in the past. While some moments seem to resemble more of an expansion than a true sequel, the advanced system, unique battle system, and beautiful environments make this a must-own for any PS5 owner. Noisy Pixel is giving Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review on NoisyPixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.